There we go. What's up, everybody? It's
Hey
1
guys.
o'clock. Got Master Grant here. Thanks, Grant. Thank you for being awesome, and thank you for being here too. We've done a podcast which is really well received. People love the hell out of that podcast. I think it's because you're a real person and you're okay with speaking your mind, and that's really cool.
I
So I appreciate that. And
hope I'm a real person.
no, it's really cool. And we have the interesting thing is like Learn Squared is its own thing, and you have your own master in CGI, and we're completely different
Hmm.
entities, but we do both appreciate one another's
Yes.
educational thing. And instead of being like, let's compete, it's not that at all. It's like, let's have fun, let's hang out, let's share. Like maybe there's something I could share with you. I know that you're going to be joining on with Miche as well at times. So it's, if anything, it's just
Yeah,
like
that's tomorrow.
getting people aware of what we're doing, having fun, hanging out. So
Yep. Yep.
today is just a casual one, guys. We're going to be hanging out. For those of you that aren't familiar with Grant, that's why we're here. Grant's going to be talking about what he loves to do, which is getting really into CGI and stuff. And he's been really getting crazy into just new levels of CGI and some of that stuff with Terminator and all those things. I was sharing some of that stuff with a friend of mine. He was freaking out on that stuff too. So yeah, we can get into that. But mostly, it's kind of wanted to hang out, talk.
Yeah, just chill out a little bit for
Yeah,
the first one.
yeah. We have my car here. I have actually, this is a car that I own. It's my prized possession. It's actually, I'm rebuilding the engine right now, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But yeah, we'll probably get more or less heavier into debates and topics of differences between render engines, a la
Hmm.
V-Ray, Octane, all that kind of stuff. And so
Yep.
it's
Yep.
more or less a casual thing for everybody that comes in here. I'm going to be doing my best to keep an eye on the chat. So if you're here, if you have questions, please feel free. And Grant's is going to kind of play, and we're going to hang out and just chat basically for an hour and answer questions and talk about render engines. And I have a ton of questions myself too. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, man. Of course. Of
Awesome.
course. So while you're doing that, I've just got to get the models you sent me here. What? So you sent me. What are these? You got front, rear, AT. Hold on. Let me just drag these to the desktop
Yeah, those are so
just
what
to set this up.
so what I did is I have you ever played with the Fusion 360 yet? That
I
OS?
have, and I for the shader ball I was making, I decided to open it and give it a crack, but the interface was a bit too different to learn like on the spot.
Yeah, yeah.
It
It's
was like I
it's
felt like
different.
it was cool, but yeah, just I knew that I was going to have the model done in a couple of days, and it was going to take a little bit longer than that to learn.
Yeah.
I need someone to show me.
I can show you
It's
really quickly. It's pretty easy. That
actually.
yeah, that was one of the rims, but I think it's actually I export. There's a so I just to go backstory. So I made these rims in Fusion. There it is. Yeah, I made them in Fusion. There might be some weird geo on there though from the
Yeah,
export.
that's
So
trying
I wonder what the
trying to
deal
figure
is.
it out. Yeah, of course, always. You go to
Yeah,
max, and
yeah. Well, I made it in Fusion and then I exported. Yeah, there's just some like weird geo that got caught into it. There you go. And I exported it via this program called Moments of Inspiration because they have a good OBJ exporter. So,
right.
but you see the topology is like a giant mess. But I wanted to send this to
Oh
you
my
because
god.
yeah, I was curious to see how you would interact with it. It's weird that it comes up. What are you working in? Is this 3D Studio Max? So
Yeah, yeah. This
yeah,
is just max. This is
yeah.
just max.
Oh, the mesh is super messy on there though. I might have.
Yeah, it's always an issue bringing in any type of CAD data in the
Yeah.
max. Who
Actually,
knows why?
yeah. I wonder why. It's like grabbing old stuff there too. So,
Yeah, let me see here if I can bring it in. It's a live stream, man. Nothing's gonna work, so
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's
you got to
good.
get used to that, obviously.
No, I don't care. Like this
How are your
is
live streams going on
they're
on
good.
the
Yeah, we keep them super casual.
every time?
Yeah, they're fun. There's a lot of really great students that are part of the community now, and it's really cool to hang out with them. And yeah, that's a mess. So you can
Oh
just
crap! Is
yeah,
this meant to be exported with the bevels around the side? I mean,
yeah,
I can do that in V-Ray with the shader, but
yeah,
I don't know why it's. Oh, that's the back. That's the front. Wow, it's like it is not doing it right
yeah,
at all. But anyway, I've got here in the actual scene. Let me just bring it up. You sent.
yeah. That's just the
Right.
stock car. That's from Turbo
Yeah, yeah.
Squid.
You
So
just got the stop. Ah, right. Okay.
So what I did is what I wanted to do at least is I made a while back I made like my own rims because I was just curious
Yep.
because I wanted to, and I put them on my car, and it was a lot of fun. I think you mentioned you're like you should use HDR Light Pro or something like that. Are you using that right
HDR
now?
Light Studio.
Light
HDR
Studio,
Light
that's it.
Studio.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm not using this right now. This is just V-Ray RT GPU.
Okay,
I actually
awesome.
had just before the stream started, I had a guy send in one of the things I could maybe show you, which kind of if we get into the whole V-Ray versus other engines,
Yeah,
the
yeah. I'd
guy
love to see that.
sent through this reference image. He's like, right before the stream started, I actually thought, I was like, do I know you? He sent through this reference showing like the dust buildup and stuff on the car, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's not
Which is
CGI.
similar.
That's a photo, right?
That's a photo, yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say like,
Please
damn.
let that photo.
Yeah, please.
Uh,
Yeah,
but this is the type of stuff that I've been doing at the moment, that procedural wear and tear.
yeah,
And the reason why I've been having another push on that stuff is because now it's supported in RT GPU. And before it was only supported in the production renderer. You know, it's kind of hard to promote stuff these days unless it's real time. So yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. Just I can probably show you some of that stuff on the stream for your
yeah,
guys who
yeah. That'd
aren't
be great.
fully aware of like some more of the advanced shaded creation stuff V-Ray has available. But
Yeah, and everybody that's
yeah,
here too, like, just be aware of like what Grant's doing. If you're not, like, Grant's has his own online education like platform called Mastering CGI. It's incredible, super good. If you're really interested in taking this stuff seriously to the next level, understanding how all this stuff works, and seeing things from a different perspective. Yeah, super cool. Great resource.
dude,
Super great resource.
how do you feel getting your short film out?
Oh, the Lost Way stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
man,
man.
it's good to just have it done, man. I'm really happy to have it
You
done.
released it when I was in the middle of like a crazy work schedule. I was doing like 2-3 days straight. Didn't actually see it for a couple of days. How much of that was actually CG though? Like how much did you like all the sets and everything? Like some of them, like, surely you did set extensions, but it actually looked like you had some like physical sets there.
Yeah.
Was it all fake?
No, we shot in a valley in Spain.
Oh, right.
There was like,
Okay.
yeah, we shot on
I was
location.
gonna say, I
so-
was like, geez, you
Yeah.
need to slow down with
Yeah.
the crazy CGI stuff. So
Thanks, man. That's props and due to Post Panic. Post Panic's the studio that was developing that and building that, all that kind of stuff out. So,
right.
but yeah, I know it was a significant amount of it is CGI. I would say, depending on the shot, it would be like maybe 20 to 40% CGI, and then the rest in camera.
Wow.
For me personally,
Cool.
I really love to keep everything in camera as much as possible, but you just can't, because
Yeah,
it's very
yeah.
expensive. We can't just I want to make pillars, 100-foot pillars over there, so it's much easier just to make a hint of a silhouette of it, and we hit a lot. We hit a ton of things, so. But yeah, I know it feels great to have it out. There's all these different accomplishments that I want to achieve before I die, and that's one of them. So getting those things done, so yeah.
You inspired me to start doing some more animation testing. So the Terminator I was working on, one of the guys on my course, he's got access to like 8 Titan video cards. And for me to render off animations on the 2 Titans I've got, it's just a little bit unrealistic at the moment.
Yeah.
That's why I was talking to you about your guy and trying to get more hardware. But I did send it off to him to do like a really, really quick 4K test on the older Terminator. And I started like, it's just a very quick test, you know what I mean? There's nothing crazy.
It's crazy though.
But when I started to see it like turning, I was like,
there you
hang
go.
on, maybe I can do my own Lost Boy short
Do
film.
it. Please. If anything, I with everybody here, I want to inspire you, too. So, I meant to
was
ask.
cool. I wanted
That's
more
awesome.
of the animation testing.
No, that's awesome.
Definitely.
And that's the goal, is like not just for me to do it, but to inspire people like yourself who have ideas and abilities and things that you're interested in.
It was cool, man. It was really cool.
Sick. Yeah, I know it was really well received across the board from a lot of people. So it's cool just to see, like I'm just going about making the things that I like. So, and it's awesome to see people be inspired by that and stuff too. So I meant to ask Momo, do you want to join this call? Mo is a student of Learn Squared, and he's really awesome. And maybe
That'd be cool.
if
so
you
you
want-
guys can take calls. You can take calls actually on the.
just added to Skype, So if
No
you want,
way.
if you want Mo, if you don't want to, no worries. You have me on private chat. So he's collecting all the questions and stuff, and then I'll kind of try to put those in throughout the conversation as we go along.
No worries. So I'm trying to, obviously, while talking to you, I'm just going to run through some basic stuff on the screen, kind of subconsciously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, how do you approach
just
this? I mean, you got like a random file for me like minutes before we did this, so
yeah.
You kept asking like, "What are we doing?" I'm like,
this,
"No, there's no plan. We're just gonna have fun." So yeah.
Here's an advanced shader I prepared earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how do you approach it if you were to like, let's say, just start playing with something that you just received and trying to kind of get your mind around it? I remember taking your class and seeing how you dissect reference images. Do you start with a reference image and then go from there?
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, I had up on the screen here. So I got this reference image earlier. I think someone just through Facebook's just sent that through with all the recent car stuff that I did with Dimitri, and they've wanted to see that stuff. No, for me at this point, doing clean stuff's quite easy. Just clean shaders in without any wear and tear. It's pretty basic these days. Yeah. But the power behind V-Ray is its ability to go in and procedurally add the damage and the decay that gives stuff that extra bit of realism.
Yeah.
And that's more stuff that I'm interested in, just trying to make stuff have that extra layer of detail, but without like doing it in a way that's extremely complicated. So like if I were to look at this reference and try to recreate it, now there's some stuff you can do in the shader itself, like you can see we're seeing some streaks here on the paneling, but then there's also actual geometry that's been physically scattered over the top. So I would start with the base. So looking at this here, I would try and mask off where I want the dust to be.
Yeah.
And that's where inside of V-Ray Dirt, I've got quite a lot of control over that procedurally. So if I go into the base, I've just got, for this car here, I'll just apply just a basic V-Ray material. You can see just starting out from scratch, there's nothing there. The first thing I'd probably do is go into the diffuse, load up a V-Ray Dirt, and then flip it so the occluded color is white. It just gives me a better indication of where that dust is building up.
It works like an ambient occlusion, right? Kind of.
It's just ambient occlusion. Yeah. That's all it is. Yeah. But unlike F-Storm has it now, the thing I'm going to show you, which is where the power comes from, is mapping the radius so that you can create kind of around the build-up, you want to create like little cavities where there's more dust and less dust.
Sure.
And it gives you that option. In Octane, though, you've only got the ability to mask off where the dirt comes in, so it's hard to explain.
There's like we have like in Octane, there's like the dirt tag, and then you can augment it with like a noise parameter.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not as
Dimitri. When I was doing my Shadeable test, for the guy, you've probably seen it around, like, because it's been going a little bit viral, the Shadeable, now that I've shared it. But Dimitri tried to recreate that procedural wear and tear in Octane.
Yeah.
And you can see near the edge how it kind of just like, he's just masked it and it's fading based on the distance of the dirt. Like, it just doesn't look like it's stretching from that edge.
Sure. Yeah. Like that's really high level stuff too, but it's good. It's good to see it too. No, I've become really cognizant and aware of a lot of these things too.
But it's so easy to do. So easy to do. So like just by default, I've got the V-Ray Dirt in here. I can go into the radius and load a triplanar texture. Now that V-Ray triplanar texture is just blended box mapping. So it's very easy to use. This should be something that everyone's using now in V-Ray. For if you don't have UVs on your object, just make sure you're always using the triplanar map. It prevents the tiling on textures.
Oh, okay.
So I can load up a bitmap here. Now I've shown my own guys this quite a lot recently. It's kind of been one of the topics of all the stuff I've been doing. But I can say go in, load up one of these smudge maps. Now I've shot all of these.
Okay, these are photos that you've taken or scans?
These are photos that I've taken on like a very specific surface.
Do you have a DSLR or something? Like what's
Yeah. I shot them against like a reflective surface at like the exact angle to catch highlights and stuff, and I just went through and just kind of calibrated it to give the nice tonality in the textures.
Yeah.
So you end up, if I look through here, I'll just load them up full screen for you.
Yeah.
They have all the detail in 4K preserved.
Are you shooting it like on a 5D or something like that?
Sony A7R2, so it's
Oh
a
yeah, A7, yeah,
42 megapixels.
yeah.
These were actually shot at. I think I could have made these textures 8K, but
Okay.
there's no point really when you're dealing with procedural grime stuff like this. Any higher, you're just going to slow the render down.
Oh, that's good
So
to
yeah,
know. Yeah.
I
Okay.
can load one of these textures into the radius slot of the dirt. You can see straight away it starts to create a little bit more detail around the edges.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just
And
let
this is a
this render.
GPU render, right?
Yeah,
Um,
this is rendering on the GPU right now.
so what's going on with because that was the one big draw for me using Octane was because I don't have fast CPUs. So
Yeah.
did V-Ray shift over to using GPU power now?
So V-Ray RT has had a CPU and GPU variant. You see up here, I'm running on CUDA.
Yeah.
It's had that now for ages, like 2 or 3 years.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is, it was so different from the production renderer, and that's why in my lessons I never used RT, because all of the advanced stuff, all of the stuff that was getting plugged in fresh into V-Ray over the last couple of years, it starts out in the CPU render and then they port it over to the GPU engine. So Vlado is doing most of the coding for the CPU, and then Blagavest, he's the head coder on the GPU engine, who I'm doing beta testing with directly now. He's handling all the porting over of that stuff. So he's basically got to recode V-Ray every time they implement something in the CPU engine. It's got to be completely redone for the GPU. So
Okay.
even though it's branded under the same V-Ray, production and Active Shade, it's still two entirely different render engines.
Gotcha.
But the exciting thing is now, like, I'm working in GPU,
Yeah.
and they fixed a ton of the subtle issues that made it not ready for production. Like, there was issues with responsiveness where it just felt slower than other stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can work in this, and all the changes I'm making are happening. Even like, it doesn't feel like I'm not. It feels like I'm working in Octane in terms of the speed and responsiveness.
Yeah.
But I've got all the power of V-Ray, so that's why I'm trying to make a bit more of a push lately, and all my lessons in the future will be on the GPU now. Because
Oh,
I'm like
cool.
you can't sit there and
No.
spend 30 grand on CPUs when
No.
the GPU renders so fast.
Yeah, no, it's much
It's
better.
just,
I have 3 Titans and then 3 980s, and they're batched together, and I'm using Octane
yeah.
for that. So you have 2 Titans, is that what you're using?
Damn yeah. Yeah, I've got two Titans, so I'll upgrade in a second.
Yeah,
But so inside of the dirt, right?
that's cool.
The inside of the radius, you've got control over how far the dirt is being spread with this map. So obviously the black areas, it's not going to spread the dirt at all. In the white areas, it's going to spread the dirt as far as you've got it set in the radius setting. So I can drop that setting now to 5, and it's only going to spread up to a maximum of 5 centimeters.
That's cool.
It's just, I mean, these settings aren't,
Yeah.
not physical. You just play with them until it looks right. But
Sure.
you've got heaps of, and you can see the responsiveness now in V-Ray RT.
Yeah.
6 months ago, if I was using that, I would have like put 5 in here, and it would have been going like, wait. Okay, now it's updating, and it was just,
Good.
it was mental. It was mental. So it's fully responsive now. The only thing it doesn't really have compared to the other engines is the real-time blare and gloom, but that's coming.
Yeah.
Sorry, Glenn.
No, this is good. I'm gonna as we're going through this, I'm gonna start putting some questions from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions that's coming in, this will be an interesting one too, is how do the materials and engines like Octane, Arnold, and V-Ray compare to Substance or even Cinema 4D? You don't play with Cinema 4D much, but you're familiar with it, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. So I think right now, in terms of just like what you're able to do in the raw render engine, outside of anything like Substance, the most advanced at the moment is V-Ray, because of stuff like this. It's the smaller stuff. But I mean, the other engines are getting pretty close now too. Like F-Storm, if I were to work in F-Storm, I'd feel pretty comfortable doing 95% of the stuff I can do in V-Ray.
Yeah. Is
So
that a familiarity that you have with V-Ray? Because I mean, a lot of
there's just similar settings. It's all like, these days to me, they're all fairly close.
Yeah. Well,
I'll always work with you.
You've mentioned, we talked about in the podcast, how there's like an exponential growth of like from 90% to 100% in reality in CGI augmentation is like it goes up exponentially, right? Like most people can get things to like 80%. Some people can get to 90. nobody can really
Yeah.
get to 100%, you know, like
It's
still, I think,
difficult.
yeah, it's very
It's
difficult.
difficult.
Probably in the 99.9, the average person wouldn't notice it, but I find myself, it's actually quite funny. Recently, I was at the movie theater and then I saw like a movie poster for the recent Star Wars. Like it was like a big
The
installation.
rogue one.
Yeah, and I looked really closely up at the thing and I saw like smudge marks and fingerprints all over the droid shader. And I was like, ah, look at that. I can see that they're using a certain type of shader, and I was dissecting it. Whereas my wife,
You- You're
you know, like she wouldn't care.
you're
You know.
starting to get it. You're
Yeah,
starting to get it.
yeah. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Do you find yourself having the same thing where you're getting all?
It's not having a deeper understanding of like all the little intricate details on stuff has kind of like ruined a lot of movies for me
Mm,
because they don't put the stuff in there that you come to expect, and stuff just looks fake because of it.
yeah,
Like every Marvel movie I've seen in the last 2 years, I don't remember watching it because I've had no interest in it. It's just it's like they've become churned out. They've lost that. Like the first Iron Man, you can see the work they were doing on it was they were
yeah,
trying to recreate the type of effect you get with Jurassic Park or something like that, where you're like pushing it to another level, and then it becomes just the same old thing. You know, every year they're going to pump a new one out, and that attention to detail gets, you know, reduced each time.
yeah. It's unfortunate. I mean, the sad thing is there's the same talented, amazing people there. It's just a matter of how the
Oh,
production works,
of
you know.
course.
So
But it's just sometimes, yeah, just
yeah,
let's just spit it out.
yeah.
Let's spit it out. You can see.
Gotta make that
But
Disney
if so,
money.
if I quickly go back while we're just doing this stuff
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
so I would load this in as a diffuse map. Now you can see here that's all there is, but that's just basically so I can preview where the like how it's affecting the surface.
Yeah.
So if I want, I would technically use this in a blend now. So now that I know kind of what this is doing, I can copy that. I'll just get rid of it out of the diffuse. I'll turn this into a V-Ray blend material. If you guys haven't used V-Ray yet, basically the blend material is similar to the way Photoshop works in the layer system.
Hmm.
So you can have a base material, and as you go down here between, you know, down through 1, 2, 3, 4, you're layering the shaders up over the top. So the base shader here would be the car paint, and then over the top of that, I would put some dust. So I'm going to make another V-Ray material for the top coat, and just to show you guys how I can blend between the two, before I copied the mask from the diffuse slot, I can put that into the blend amount, and now you can see that we're blending in this red shader where the white areas on the dirt are.
So you can
But part
signify
of the
the
issue
dirt.
with
Yeah.
that is, yeah, I think Octane has like a, you can adjust the strength of the dirt inside of E-Ray though. The way you do that is I can just put an output over the top, and then I can increase. Let's hope they fix this in this nightlies. I bet you they haven't. These are the type of little things that I've been trying to beta test in. So you can see that's not working, but I guarantee you if I swap to CPU now, it should technically work. Come on. Yeah, okay. So that's a bit of a shame because Chaos Group released a nightly version for this stream, which fixed this, so I could show you it in RT.
Okay.
The release was V-Ray just wasn't starting in that release. There was something wrong with it.
Sure.
But
That's cool that you keep
it'll be
open
fixed.
contact with them, though, huh?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
So now that I'm in the CPU engine, which, you know, where this feature's like working properly, it's just a small bug. You can see that as I increase that RGB amount, I'm blending in a little bit more strongly. It's like putting a brightness and contrast in Photoshop on the map.
Yeah, that's cool.
But because I can go in and make that mask a bit stronger now, you see before it didn't really look like there was that much of a dust build-up. What I might do is, for the base, I'll go in and load one of the V-Ray scan materials. Let's see if that's V-Ray. Where is it here? Just load this up. Maybe, hopefully all the licensing works. Yep. Okay, just a sec.
Yeah, it's like a blood car. Blood car.
Yeah.
This
Not
is
really
cool.
much happening.
No, it's good to see. I mean, this is how I do when I do the dirt shaders in Octane. I'll turn it to red so I can
Yeah.
see it. Just
Yeah.
helps. Yeah. I noticed that it's going around the topology. Is there a way to blend that off so it doesn't do that artifact? where the noise
Sorry, whereabouts
is
you mean?
yeah, we're like around the fender, yeah, where it's like
Oh,
congregating
you've
around
got
the polygons and stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so inside there, that's because I've got the. Have I? Where is the distribution? I need to go up on
And
the
it
distribution.
scatters it off so it doesn't
Fix it.
latch to the typo.
The radius might be a little bit strong too, because what happens is it starts picking up on the actual like edges, like it's spreading from the edges, not so much the geometry itself.
You guys have like I'm sure in Max you guys have like a subdivider on the topology on models and
Yeah,
stuff too.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That can
Would
fix it
that
as well.
does that do that, or is there a way
That
to
can
do it
fix
in
it.
the render? Because that's one thing I like about Octane is you can make it so that it's not heavy in the scene's geometry, but it's heavy
Right.
in
Let
the
me see
render.
if I can do that. If I set it to render it is.
It's so funny. There's so many different. That's what makes it so interesting. Is there's so many different teams and people that are like, this is the best and
Yeah.
that's the best. And for me, like when I'm fairly new to all this stuff, but I still really love and enjoy getting into this stuff. But it's like
You like Octane though for the responsiveness, yeah? It just
yeah, I need
make
it.
changes in scene and it just pops up in the viewport.
Yeah, I know I need it. That's how I work, and like I never was like when V-Ray, I admire and adore, and I think it's really awesome. I just never was like, I can't sit here and wait. I like the way that I work is I need to have that feedback instantaneously, or there's like there's
Well,
no point.
it is. It's pretty much there now. It's pretty much
That's
there.
awesome.
So
No,
over
this
the
RT
next,
thing's cool.
and I don't expect anyone to convert over immediately. And for a long time there, I was thinking like, is this gonna, like, are they gonna come through with some of the stuff that I expected? But it took like literally just accepting the fact that I was gonna have to be way more hands-on with it. I kind of like got in my head that things were just gonna magically start to happen. But some of the things I was asking for, I was the only person asking for them. So it was difficult for Chaos Group to put much effort into it when there's only like one person kind of asking for some of these things. But
Sure.
it gives you that extra control.
I've heard that V-Ray is really amazing in regards to their coordination with their community. People like yourself who are out there pushing the boundaries, and
Well, they're starting to implement stuff really quickly.
that's great.
Like
Rapid feedback.
the more I beta test, the faster some of these things are kicking into, because I'm getting better at revealing some of the problems and stuff.
That's cool.
So I think it's some. There you go.
Yeah, baby.
I knew it was going to happen. Knew it was going to happen.
How often does that happen for you? Because, yeah, is it?
I'm working with the nightly versions of V-Ray. You got to remember, these are just like very like alpha testing. They're just packaging them up each night with whatever changes and fixes they implement.
Yeah.
So it happens quite a lot.
Yeah.
But let's go in here.
If everybody's listening to ask, Momo's going to be taking questions. Thank you, Momo. So if you have questions, I'm doing my best to try and focus on what Grant's doing, but Momo will send it over through me through the chat, and then I will get it in here as well. So, yeah. So if you have questions and stuff, let us know.
And I think in future streams too, I can probably just for like small chunks of time just sit here working.
Yeah.
While you're talking with the viewers.
Yeah, that's great.
It's difficult. This is the first stream I've done where you have to kind of work and talk.
It is not easy to do that. Yeah.
Usually it's either me just working and I can answer questions when I want, but
creatively problem solve and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is difficult, but yeah, go for it. And I think
God, that's so
go for
so
it.
frustrating.
There's a question. Let's see. Something came in here. Let's see. Ash, you said that you sometimes study movies you watch. Do you have any recommendations? How could I take movie watching to the next level and learn something from it? Yeah, this is really great. I've found out, I forget, one of my friends told me that I believe it Michael McTiernan. He directed Die Hard, which is a masterpiece in action cinema, I believe. But do you not like Die Hard? Do you disagree?
No,
with me?
of course I do.
No, Die Hard's amazing. It's so good.
Of course.
But
just laughing.
no. I mean, yippee-ki-yay. But anyways, I remember hearing that he once watched a film, I think like 500 times or something. I don't know if that does anything for you, but I think that he was really, really obsessed with understanding what it was that he loved about that movie, so he just continually watched it. I don't know if that necessarily helps. I think what you need to do in regards to learning anything is be completely remove all your habitual patterns, and then kind of open your mind to the possibility of alternate possibilities, if that makes sense. It's really difficult to do that, though, right? You know, because like
Yes.
your mind is going like, how is this familiar to what I know, and how can I manipulate this to get what I want? And so in regards to learning from movies, is what I like to do is many different things, and I'll use Arrival example because it's the most recent. Have you seen Arrival yet?
No, I haven't. But I saw you post. I've wanted to see it, but I didn't see any kind of advertisements for it for cinemas over here.
Oh, okay,
Was
that's a
it kind of
bummer.
small? Was it small scale? Was it big? Like, I don't know
I
anything
mean,
about
it's
it.
pretty big,
I
but
saw the
I don't know.
trailer, but
Yeah, yeah. Don't
I
watch the
didn't really.
trailer. Yeah, but no, I mean, I don't know. That's weird. I mean, maybe it's just not out in Australia right now or something. I don't know. There's just there's different distribution channels. It probably is, but it's not like it's not like a Marvel Star Wars movie where it's like, you know, everywhere all the time. It's kind of, it's not an independent film at all, because after I sat there, in movies I really love, I sit there and I watch the whole credit scroll, and I go through, oh, okay, that's a big team for VisFX. There was about, I don't know, 5 or 6 big houses that were behind it, frames, everything from frame store to multiple different other houses in regards to to the CGI aspect of it. But so back to learning, though, what I did is I watched it twice in the theater because I wanted to experience it in the theater because of the sound and the scale and the sense of things. And I actually intentionally went to like the latest show at night, so there would be nobody in there, because I can't stand having other people in there. They usually like making a bunch of noise or on their freaking phone. Drives me nuts. So so for that film, I just kind of I sit there and I really try to observe one aspect and then just isolate that. So this last passing, I really wanted to see how Dennis was telling the story, and conveying her emotional levels, also how he was dealing with the concepts of time and how he was translating very complex things through the edit, connecting to that. And then I was also paying very close attention to how the DOP was navigating the camera. So when you're observing a film, for example, and if you're studying it, I'd advise that you would have to watch it multiple times, and each passing you would look at like how Grant's looking at one thing. He's looking at one thing at a time. He's isolating on one aspect, then looking at the whole, then one aspect, then looking at the whole.
Yeah.
And then what you're
Yeah.
doing is you're going, well, how did, like, why did like, for me, I always think like, I'll watch like a Roger Deakins film or something. Like last night I was studying No Country for Old Men, and I was trying to see like, how is he setting up this shot? Like, why is he at that level? Like, why is he right below the eye line? Or why is he eye level? Or why is this center framed? Why is he right justified? And so I'm asking all those questions and then answering it with logic of things that I know. So I think for me, when I study film, it's like the best school, because you're seeing the final product. And if you have a very inquisitive mind, you're able to kind of decipher what it is that they're going after. So kind of like, I equate it similarly to how Grant's trying to navigate this beta unit of V-Ray that he's doing. It was just quickly reconstructing, but like you have the same observational style, I think.
You you break it down. You break everything down into the details,
Yeah.
and eventually, the more you add to it, the more it just starts to come together. You just cross the valley, the uncanny valley. The more you add, the more it gets closer. And if you just kind of tick off the box as you go, you'll see that the workflow, pretty much everything is layerable these days in CGI.
Yeah.
You can layer up detail in ZBrush. You start from the base, you work your way down into the smaller details. Same as shader creation, start at the base, you just work your way down. Lighting's a little bit trickier though. I've found lighting's one of those things where it's less technical. It's more just, it's purely visual, and that's the hard part for me. But all the advanced material stuff is quite simple when you break it down, because everything is just one small element.
Yes.
You just got to know what elements to look for.
Yeah, no, that's one thing I really loved about when I was taking your course, is just understanding how you perceive things, and how you look at things and how you're able to decipher. And I think that was just a good awareness for me. It's like when I started to learn design, it was understanding,
Right.
Let's say the topic of topography, for example, which is just a system of language, but understanding how the form
But
and the letters and all that kind of stuff, how it functions, and reading menus at restaurants and dissecting like what works and what doesn't, and
but
applications on the
you
iPhone and all that
obviously
stuff.
know
So
how to do that just with everything, but just with new things that you're not used to, you've just
yeah,
got to know
it's difficult.
what to look for. It's not the
Y-
looking for stuff that's the issue. It's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I would say that the 9 times out of 10, I know what it is I'm trying to achieve. The problem I have is the interface with trying to get there. Like,
Right,
what does
right.
clamp mean? Like defining these. Like, what does the clamp mean? What is it? How does that affect it? And how does it help me get where I want? That's one thing out of the umpteen millions of parameters that exist. And one thing, like one aspect of V-Ray, and so just kind of getting your head around it. Another question for you: would you say this is for you? Would you say that
Yes.
each render has its uses, like V-Ray for photorealistic, X-Render for animated movies? Technically, can't you achieve the same look, quotes, in all of them, whether it's CPU or GPU? Here we go. Let's get into it. Yeah, I've
Oh,
heard many different debates on this thing, and it's so funny. Yeah,
it's if you're trying to create that Pixar look, you've got to realize that there's quite a lot of proprietary software and shading going into making that happen.
yeah,
Like if I were to try and recreate the Pixar look with V-Ray, it'd probably be very difficult, if not impossible, just because they code things a certain way. They're not coding from a physical point of view as much as they are a stylistic. Well, that's the way Pixar was working up until recently. I know they've changed that quite a bit, but it's still I had a mate over last night. He's working at Framestore as a lead shading and lighting artist, and they use Arnold render there. So they were working on Guardians of the Galaxy, and we're having a debate over why I use Arnold and stuff like that. And he was like, "Man, like at the end of the day, there's so much code written just for our guys. Like we've got our own shading department. We've got guys who literally, if the lighting and shading artists need work, if need something to look a certain way, these guys just code in shaders that allow that to happen. So when you're dealing with like default engines, just like straight out of the box, like Corona, V-Ray, Octane, iRay, you're going to get a similar result with all of them. But
yeah.
if you're talking about trying to use like a custom version of RenderMan that Pixar's working with, you're not going to be able to get the same result. So I guess some render engines are tailored for certain things, but that's only in-house proprietary stuff. All the other render engines on the market are pretty much based on, well, they try to be based as much on physical properties
Ray
as
tracing and all
possible.
that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
right?
it's all
Yeah.
it's all fairly similar, and you can get a very similar result using the different engines.
I've heard that the F-Storm guy was some. I mean, this is I don't know. This is stuff like Mache will tell me or whatever. I
Yeah.
don't really pay attention to this stuff, but he said that the F-Storm guy was like one of the key programmers from Octane or something like that, and went off and did his own thing. I don't know if that is that the case or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So
So he was working on Octane,
yeah,
and obviously the company's had some previous issues. There's been some stuff posted online of
yeah, I saw that.
like
It's a shame.
disgruntled employees and stuff like that. Who knows how much of any of it's true? At the end of the day,
Good
though,
point. You don't. So
who knows how much any of it's true? I realize at the end of the day, just there's not really much you can worry about. So
yeah, true.
it
Unless you know
doesn't
that
really.
person directly, and then
Hey, as long as they're implementing stuff, really fast, that's all I really care about at the end of the day.
oh well, you're the end
And
user, so yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately, Octane just doesn't like Otoy, the company doesn't really care much about the smaller features inside the render engine, and that's become pretty apparent over the last few years. Like I
Yeah,
was a massive for RT stuff. I was a massive Octane fan
yeah,
because it was so fast, it was so responsive.
yeah.
But I am always one of those people where whatever happens, whatever engine decides to go next level next, implements new stuff that I can work with,
Yeah.
I'll just use that. There's no reason not to. There's no reason to be a fanboy with one particular thing.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
It's embracing technology and stuff,
Yeah,
seeing that.
exactly,
And
exactly.
you bring up a great point about like the in-house software like RenderMan or whatever Pixar is using, because it's like architecture comprised internally, or like the argument of like Arnold's better than this or whatever.
Yeah,
I think that's something that I found is from my standpoint it's a matter of what you're after. and what your goals are. So yeah, you are right. There's a lot of things, even for example, let me use Cinema 4D and like the cell shader or something like that. It's way better, way faster than Octane could do it. And so it's just a matter of understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the tools you're using, and most importantly, what your goals are. Like right now, we're trying to recreate procedural, real-time, realistic-looking shaders and stuff that, like, you're trying to create like dirt and build-up and stuff.
Yes.
And so that's, exactly what you're going for. I think the thing is, for people that are asking these questions, is just more or less, for me at least, is like understanding what your goals are and then trying to achieve that and being aware of it. So it's such a wild, freaking crazy world though with this stuff.
Oh man.
It's like
You
never
see what I'm
ending.
doing here is I'm trying
It's
to
great.
put through the bump.
Yeah, there's a bump map coming in there.
I'm trying to put through the bump. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, guys. It is. I've lost complete train of thought like 5 times now. So
No, this is cool though. Are you able to? So
I'm getting the scale. So what I'm using is the same box mapping for the dirt map that I put in earlier. I'm using the same for the bump mapping now. So inside of the dust material, the bump I'm loading is mapped the same way inside this V-Ray triplanar texture. You'll see that I use this pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah.
That's because I'm too lazy to UV anything properly or do anything with. It's so.
There's no need to do that stuff, really.
The thing is, I can get so close procedurally. There's no need to do crazy stuff like I did on the Mastering V-Ray finale, where every single object is unwrapped. Every single object runs through this same procedure of like generating alphas, like with the like in-house tools for baking out occlusion and stuff. I can just do it all in real time.
Yeah.
And even though what you're seeing here is the CPU engine, because obviously that release that was meant to be out for this bloody stream, isn't there. That's just, testing.
We have other ones.
Oh, I feel so bad about that because I was like, all I want is that one feature for this live stream. Just please give it to me, man. And
that's cool though. I mean, that's really awesome that you have that ability to kind of have that dialogue. That's one thing that I don't know. I haven't really tried to or achieved that with Octane or a toy, but that's what I've heard. So, but
I tried Octane, they just didn't answer me back. So.
Yeah, and I've heard that from many other artists too, which is unfortunate too. But at the same time, they're probably just busy and doing other things. And V-Ray's been around for a long time.
Well, I think they're more busy trying to develop themselves as a corporate entity. The virtual reality stuff. They're trying to be like a buzz company.
Sure.
If that makes sense, they're not trying to be a render engine company.
That's a real bummer, and that's one thing I encountered with, say, like Apple recent time. Like Apple used to be a company that would make, platform-based hardware that would be good for professionals. So now it's like prosumers and below, because they've made so much money off of things like the iPhone. They don't care about me, and
exactly.
So I had to switch over complete platforms, and it is what it is. I mean, you can bitch and cry all I want. It's not a big deal. It's not like life-changing. It is what it is. It's uncomfort, basically. So and that kind of just, that's probably just, as a company, they're just gearing themselves. You know how it is when you run a company. You have your goals and your drive for things and what you're after and stuff too. So another good question, when tackling shading and rendering, are there any kind of activities that you would recommend to improve your ability other than immersing yourselves in rendering engines? For example, studies.
Photography
yeah.
is the number one thing.
Yeah.
It's more important than the CGI stuff, actually, I'm realizing.
Training your eye.
Oh, far out, 100%. Yeah. It's the reason why I've had trouble with my lighting course, because I realized that I wasn't as good at the lighting as I was at the technical shading stuff, and I've kind of had to go on, it's been an eye-opener. I've had to learn myself.
It's good.
Because I was sitting there recording stuff, and it was almost like I was just spouting shit. You know what I mean? It was like stuff that I'd heard through other people but hadn't actually confirmed myself. And I was like, this is not the same as the V-Ray course where I am just explaining purely from experience. Sure. So I went out, bought a camera, and for the last year, that has been my number one hobby.
That's awesome.
Over CGI. Going out, shooting stuff, and just getting a feel for that. Because the more you use real-time engines, the more you do photography, the more you start to see this kind of link between the two, where you're like, hang on, the reason why my render doesn't look good isn't because of the shaders or anything like that. It's because of the composition. It's because of the lighting and the angles I'm using. There's
Yeah.
nothing to do with any of the technical stuff I've got. It can have simple stuff to do with just like color calibrating.
Yeah.
And you can see inside, if I just pop this up, V-Ray as it gets developed
Cool. There's a LUT
adds
set
more
and
and
everything.
more.
That's great.
Yeah, it adds more and more color correction straight into
That's
the render,
awesome.
into the viewport. Now,
Yeah.
I know other engines have this stuff. Octane has its own
Yep.
tone mapping stuff. But since I've been working in RT GPU, I've been utilizing all of these features. And it's just purely to give a different kind of look and feel to the image. So I'll just do my own grade for each individual render. And it's so funny because sometimes, right, when you're doing beta testing, what makes sense to you as an artist just really doesn't make sense to the developers. Like I remember Vlado thinking that all these color adjustments in the render, like in the frame buffer, were like there was a kind of a battle going on to get this stuff in here. Because he's like, why don't you just do it in Nuke or in Photoshop?
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like we want to see it. Like we want the end result in the viewport. Like
Yep.
the goal is to make this
That's
a
it. That's
photo.
done. Yeah.
And all I want to do is know the camera settings to use. You know, the framing. I want to know the lighting to use.
The lens.
I don't want to sit here trying to get a half-assed result in the viewport, then drag it to Photoshop and color correct it to the final.
Yeah, no, it's true, and that's one thing I think that I find to be really amazing as I'm working on my next film right now is, and I shared a little bit with you, is like I don't want to go anywhere else to make it what it needs to be. I want to do it all here, as much as I can, and make it done here because, I mean, of course, there's little things like when you compose things, you want to like there's topics right now of talking about denoising your renders by using a plugin called Neat Video, which is really great. I don't know, are you familiar with Neat Video?
Do you do that inside of
After Effects or like
in Octane though?
No. So what you would do is you take your renders. If you wanted to lower the render time, so you can, if you didn't have like 100 GPUs, you could lower the render time.
Yep.
It might be a little bit noisy, but you run it through a very smart denoise plugin called Neat Video, and it'll help you save on time and stuff. I like to just kind of get for me, it's always like right on the threshold of just like enough to kind of drive me nuts. So
what you'll like then is I've just inside of the V-Ray frame buffer, they've just introduced this in 3.5. They actually introduced their own denoiser directly into the render engine.
Awesome.
Are you aware of that?
That's cool. No, I never heard of that, and that's awesome.
So it's probably, I don't know why I can't, it's always something that's going to go wrong here. You got to remember, guys, this is just like a nightly, the beta version of the software. So maybe I need to stop the render. Hold on. The pain.
All good.
Nope, it just doesn't want to. There you go. Beta testing V-Ray.
Yeah, no,
basically,
I mean, that's the point
basically,
of beta,
V-Ray has a new denoiser render element that I can put in here. It works with V-Ray real time as well, but it slows down the responsiveness a little bit. So it basically utilizes a whole bunch of different render passes. Like it'll utilize the Z depth pass, the normals. It'll utilize the reflection filters and stuff like that. So it's figuring out where. Basically, the whole purpose of that is to figure out where the textures are that you're loading in the render, because it doesn't want to try and denoise the detail areas. And it uses like 8 or 9 different passes together to build a kind of noise profile, and then cleans it up. It does a crazy job. It is like it's crazy.
That's
it's next
awesome.
level, and it's in the render engine itself. So all that like waiting that you're doing, like you don't know when the render's got to be just noisy enough to save it off and do the work in After Effects. This you can just see it in the frame buffer. And in RT, even though I can't load it up here because it's not working, if I'm working in RT and say I'm like rotating around, this is updating. Right now, like after that 2-second mark, I can go into the denoiser filter and it will just auto update, and it just progressively denoising it. It's crazy, man. It's really cool.
That's awesome. I love I mean, I think like the way that you're using this and how integrated it is to you and how like familiar it is to you as well, like, and seeing how powerful it is with the RT. It's really convincing to me. And Mache was telling me about this. He was saying like all the real time stuff that you're doing now, and I didn't realize, honestly. I always thought it was a CPU thing, and I couldn't stand waiting for the buckets to load, and it would drive me nuts. So
No, man,
yeah,
no.
this is
So
cool.
like
This is cool.
but I've had to wait. I can't push something unless I'm using it myself.
Yeah, of course.
So
Of course.
I'm not going to sit there and push V-Ray RT. I'll push the production render engine because it's the most advanced.
Yeah.
But the RT side of things was just too slow. It had such
This is
massive
really cool,
issues. And it was what the crazy thing is, right? Like I was talking to Blago and I was like, what was the problem in the end with the interactivity? Because they were defending to guys like me and Dimitri the speed of V-Ray RT.
Yeah.
They're like trust me, it's just as fast, if not faster, than all the other engines. I was like, sorry, dude, it's not. It's a piece of shit. The thing's taking 5 minutes to update in the viewport. I'm changing a shader and waiting 5 seconds for it to adjust. It's not workable. It turned out that it was just a bug in the V-Ray frame buffer. So month after month, they're introducing all these new features, trying to optimize things and speed it up. But because of a bug in the frame buffer, it was really slow for some people. And it was just like, ugh.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Just little stuff
Little
like
things.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell too.
I think I'm still in CPU mode here. I can probably, I'll leave it in CPU mode. It's actually pretty fast as well.
Yeah, your CPUs.
But
What do you have in your machine? Like,
it's just a single i7. It's 2.5 years old. It's just
Okay,
V-Ray's
cool.
actually quite fast. It's a single i7 4930K.
Awesome.
Just outdated, kind of high end,
Gotta
but
get
not
you
super
connected with those
high-end.
Intel guys then.
Yeah, man, I need it. Give me the connection.
Well, it
Give me the
sounds. I
connection.
mean, I introduced you to Jeff. Jeff's amazing. He's really
Yeah.
awesome. So you'll love him.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. So
Look, I think once you hit a point where you're like, I'm basically doing R&D.
yeah, no,
Like
you are. You're hitting the wall
it's-
against like what this.
I make money off selling tutorials on V-Ray and trying to push it next level, so it benefits me trying to introduce new features because I can be the first one to explain how they work, and I get that benefit. But now people are starting to, like, the more I do on this stuff, the more people will convert to V-Ray RT, and they should.
Sure.
Until the next best thing comes out. But what I'm doing now is I'm trying to, sorry, it's so difficult. I'll get used to this, but I'm trying to now introduce inside the reference. You can see near the edges, we get kind of like a darkening off. I'll just do the same now, but for the diffuse part of the shader.
Yeah.
So in the occluded area, I want to.
While you're doing that, somebody asked if I would recommend any books about industrial design. Oh man, it's actually quite funny. I just did a podcast right before we did this with my friend Jessie. She's like a creative strategist and creative director, industrial designer, somewhat over at JPL and NASA, and we were talking about this exact thing. I don't have any books that I can recommend specifically about products, industrial design. Do you have any books or anything like that because I don't know, I guess I just study it in a different way on the internet. Really, that's kind of, I read a lot of articles and stuff. So
No, for me, it's just looking at reference through Google, pretty much. Like anytime I need to figure something out, I just Google it. Seems pretty basic, but I'm not really a book person, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so much stuff, and having the internet, to being able to utilize the internet and its abilities to find all the information you want.
I feel bad that I'm not more heavily into that stuff, but it's just like
Come on, man, get with it.
No, man, I'm not. No,
I know you have all the spare time to do all kinds of fun, like easy things, so.
What am I? Yeah. Okay, let me go a bit higher on the radius here.
And John Connell is sharing his reel with us. It's really awesome work, John. It's really cool, man. Oh, it's creepy.
I've known him for a long time. He helped a lot with the Mastering V-Ray course early on.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's been a while since I've spoken to you though, man.
Yeah, he's here.
What have you been doing?
John's here.
I need him to do a lesson for mastering CGI. Like, he's one of the most experienced V-Ray users on the planet.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
I don't know why he doesn't.
thanks for being here, John. And he's been active in the chat this whole time, breaking it down, dropping
Really?
logic. So yeah, this is really cool. No, it's cool. I'm looking at his reel. Yeah, it's some next level stuff. Very cool.
I wish. Okay, so here's another little thing. I don't know if you can tell.
Yeah, I can see it.
This is something. Okay, you can see where there's like a weird tonality in the diffuse.
Yeah.
I don't know. It goes from like red to orange. Now that type of stuff could just be the lighting. It could just be a bunch of stuff. But I'll use it as an excuse to try and implement something here. Unfortunately, once again, this was meant to be supported for this. Let me go into the diffuse. Just got to change the tiling. Okay, it's getting there slowly getting there terribly.
That's cool.
But what you can do is, let me go back to this light material, is I should be able to, I'll just start with a new shade. Oh, another issue here is my Max is like giving some weird bug every time I try and load a texture. That sucks.
Sometimes that happens with Octane too. It's like you have to like recache it or something like that.
Maybe it's possible. Is it possibly because I'm doing the stream? Like it's just be a
having a hard time.
issue
Well, I
with
mean,
that.
it's just Skype, so Skype shouldn't be taxing much, but maybe I don't know.
No, but it did this the last time I did a stream as well.
Oh, okay.
Really, there we go. It's just no.
This is a good question coming in while you're messing with that. Can you recommend where I can learn about making UVs, normal maps from photos? I'm a noob on the subject, but I'm trying to learn it to apply it to Unreal Engine and architecture design. Thank you for your time. That's a great question, because that's a question I have that I was going to ask you as well. So,
What do you mean? Can you making UVs and normal maps from photos?
yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I think what they're looking for is they're still new to the concept of what maybe a UV or a normal map is, and utilizing those to like enhance their ability to make realistic textures using Unreal Engine. But it's mostly like, what do you use? Do you use, because like I use like Crazy Bump, I think, when I was making stuff, but I started getting away from using Bump. I started using more displacement. Do you use displacement more?
I use displacement, but more so than in displacement, I like to scatter stuff.
Yeah, me too.
So if I think that's the most powerful. I actually don't use displacement a lot. You know, like with the recent Megascans release and stuff like that, it's become way more powerful now because they've actually scanned the displacement maps and get some cool results. But even with a perfectly scanned displacement map, you still don't get the same type of layering that scattering gives you.
Yeah, but if there's something for this person that needs to use like some kind of resource for
just
like,
use Crazy Bump.
Crazy Bump is good. Yeah, Crazy Bump's really good.
Easy.
If that's a good resource for you for Unreal Engine, because Unreal Engine uses
And
Bump
there's
and stuff.
and then there's Crazy Bump, and there's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's called Knald. It's like KNALD. Let me just look this up. Oh, try and.
Yeah, KNALD. Is this like a substance designer kind of thing, or a mash between? This looks interesting. Here, I'll put the link in here for you guys. There you go. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's weird. Your audio cut out. Can you hear me? Let's see. See. All right, guys, hold on. Let me call Grant back really quickly. Call dropped. Let's see, there we go. There we go.
Man.
Awesome. Yeah, the audio cut out.
Yeah, I think my audio, like my cable into the mic, just kind of got bumped.
All right, no worries. That was good. That link worked really well for them. So thanks for sending that along.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, Nald.
All right. Sharing again. All good.
Yeah, all is good. We have 15
Okay,
minutes and
cool.
then we'll jump off.
All right,
So
cool. So the last thing I'll show you guys is how you can get a little bit crazier inside of V-Ray. You don't have this ability in other render engines.
yeah.
This is just like it's been closely tied into 3ds Max. So say V-Ray for Maya won't have this because this is a feature specific to 3ds Max.
Okay.
Having the gradient ramp here mappable. So what you can do is inside of normal dirt, usually you've got like the occluded areas being black and the unoccluded areas being white. But the transition between those two colors is very limited with just a basic V-Ray dirt.
Mm-hmm.
As in, like, I can make the occluded areas red and the unoccluded green, but essentially I don't have exact control over that stuff. If you map a gradient, though, you can kind of get more control over that. So you can see in the dark areas of the dirt, they represent the dark areas on the gradient ramp. So if I go in and make this red, you see it changes the color in those
Cool.
areas. Now, because of that, I can introduce a bit more, like as I go out more here, I'll introduce like say a green color. And let me just go inside the dirt. I might need to play with the settings here. Distribution. Invert the normal. Change the radius, sorry, a little bit.
Hell yeah, getting trippy. I should build a
And
file
now
for you with the wheels and everything, and then we could play with that, make it look more cool.
Yeah, well, I got to get decent wheels. Next stream, I'll come on and I'll just maybe do while you're answering questions with the users. I'll just run through and do like a basic kind of lesson on materials, stuff like that.
That'd be great.
It gets a lot easier to work through that stuff. But basically, you can see now by mapping this, I've got control exactly over
That's great.
like what colors I want. So say near the edges now, if I want them to be darker, I can go in and make them like kind of dark orange. For the rest of the car, I can make this because this is the base of the car color. You know, this is the diffuse value. I can go in and see what this will do is it'll just give some basic kind of shape that wasn't before to the car. So I'm going to go out now into the dirt.
It's kind of like that dust fall off or something, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the radius mapped here, so I can once again, I'll just go in, apply the triplanar, load in one of my... God, this is frustrating.
Put some wood in there, yeah.
Load in one of my maps.
Awesome.
And now this will just vary up the... Let's see, you get some of the detail coming through it.
Yeah, there it is, yeah. That's great.
But I need to... When you do this, because this map is controlling the radius of the dirt, obviously the black areas are less spread, the white areas are more spread. You've got to go in and adjust the map like you would in Photoshop. So this is another thing that I've been doing recently. Rather than doing any adjustments to textures inside of Photoshop, which is something that I admittedly used to do heaps, like I'd go into Photoshop, adjust it, save it, bring it into Max, hit render. It's just so painfully slow.
Annoying. Yeah,
so using and one of the reasons why I couldn't do this in RT was because it wasn't supported using the output. And now that is supported, I can go in and do this stuff. It's so much easier. So I can play with the map, get these results in, and you can see from the reference here, having that kind of control. It's not giving the exact same result here, but if I go out now and I'm just going to copy that gradient ramp into the base of my car shader over here with the diffuse, and if I unhide everything again and apply that, you'll see that detail comes out. Now, I like to, if that's a bit too obvious, you can go in and obviously just adjust the colors until they're a bit more similar, and you'll get rid of that transition.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah,
but it's all procedural. It's all real time. You've got there's no UVs on this car, but I've got full control over the edges, and I can take it a step further. Obviously, I will in other streams. But these are just some of the features that are giving, V-Ray that edge.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Just load up an HDR here because at the moment it's just being lit by that single light from above. It might not look as realistic.
Sure. Yeah, you were. It was funny because when I was making my renders of this car a while back, you're like, man, use that thing, that HDRI like Kit Pro or whatever it is, and I was like, no. See, the funny thing is, I was at that point where I was like, no, I want to learn lighting, using CGI rather than throwing an HDRI in there. Which, because like an HDRI is a quick fix, but you can't, like, if I'm like, oh, you know what, I really want like 2 more inches of light right here, and so I'm just gonna. Then it's more or less like the reason why is because as like directing film and stuff, I want to be able to go like, okay, give me the backlight over there. Like I know it already. If I go into a room and I go, okay, I want this subject here, I know exactly where it is. It's just 3D basically in my head. So and that's one thing I would say for everybody that's listening that wants to direct and do all those kind of things or be a DOP is like the most powerful tool and the cheapest one that you could use almost for the most part is going into CGI and 3D. Because you can create altered places so cheaply, and you can basically have any camera you need with any lens configuration, so you can really understand what you like and how to use that. Matt Workman has a really cool thing. I had him on my podcast. He has a cinematographydatabase.com. He does this thing, really cool thing. That he sets up. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he does some really cool stuff in regards to that too. So
there's just so much stuff
there is
when you start doing photography where it all starts tying together. Like if I were to shoot this car in real life, I immediately, now that I've got a little bit more experience with that, you have a basic idea of what the camera settings are going to do to your exposure and depth of field.
Yep.
And if you disable that connection, if I turn off exposure control inside of V-Ray and all I'm doing is playing with the intensity of the HDR, it's just a very rudimental way of looking at it.
Indeed.
You're not factoring in all of the things that could potentially alter the way the scene looks with depth of field and stuff like that. Like obviously there's creative ways of doing it, but I really suggest you go out there and just get a camera, start playing with it, learn what settings are going to do what, like in the past, I didn't really know what any of these things did because I hadn't used camera properly. I'd only seen photographers work. I hadn't actually sat there and done it myself. But now I know that with all this stuff enabled, I've got that control. If I drop it down to a 1.8 aperture, I'm gonna
defocus everything. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's really good. Even if you have a rudimentary understanding of how cameras work, I mean, it really helps significantly because it just gives you an understanding of how the mechanisms work, And even though it's kind of funny because the mechanisms inside, like how you're augmenting the false camera, basically, it's funny because it doesn't need to correspond with the parameters that exist within reality of real cameras, but it does, and you can play with that, but you can also alter it. Like you said, you can rudimentally just adjust the power luminance value of the HDRI and kind of augment the rest of the lighting and stuff. But you're getting further into the anatomy of it. And it's almost like understanding how to draw a body, but then understanding the anatomy of how muscles and bone structures work together and stuff. So
what I'm doing now is you can see before the reflection glossiness on the car was a bit too even. Same thing. I've applied that triplanar mapping, and now I'm just mapping the glossiness of the car. Now there's all sorts of different ways in which I can link the glossiness to the diffuse and the reflection amount, and I will get into that with some other stuff. But the whole workflow here is designed for there to be no UVs, but you still end up with the detail procedurally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'll go in now. It's too blurry, so inside of the map, this is where once again I would have gone in and adjusted it in Photoshop.
Yeah, this is great.
I just go into the output, and
curves adjustment.
As I raise this, I'm going to increase the glossiness. You can see the car goes back to being really sharp.
Yeah.
If I calibrate it, and this is where I've got heaps of control, just like Photoshop, I just want to introduce a bit more blurriness in where there's smudges on my textures.
Yeah, that's really cool. Are you able to adjust
for the guys who've tuned in for this first stream, just give me a second. I'll upload something for them. I'm just going to zip together a file with some of these smudge textures.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Grant's Gifts, Santa Claus style.
Textures. I've got to go and shoot more of these actually because now people are. It took me working with them in RT for people to see the power of them, but I'm actually really proud of these maps because they're all. Let me just bring them up here. They're all quite different, but they all give very reliable results. Depending on the type of surface you're after. You know, I've had guys use stuff like this as glossiness maps, and it gives the surface that kind of like swashed look, like it's been. Hold on, where is it? Just very simple maps like this. Using it as a glossy map, it gives the appearance like they've kind of like cleaned a window or something on glass.
Yeah, that's cool.
Just
what material is this that you're using? Is it just like just random materials, or like is there a type of material that you're using? Because my friend, are you familiar with Cornelius?
No, I'm not. Sorry.
I'm sure you've probably seen his work. He did that crazy
Yeah.
octane render of the awesome astronaut floating in the parking lot. It's all super beautiful and at night and
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that's Cornelius.
Yep.
Cornelius,
I've seen that.
he has packages of stuff like this too that he gives on his site,
Where?
which is really cool.
Just let me put that in there.
Zomex,
Sorry.
let's see.
I'm trying to find them while I'll give a few dust maps. Where are they?
Zomex. Here, I'll share this with you
copy.
guys too.
Sorry, I'm just putting this in here.
This is fun because this is kind of like our podcast, but we're doing it live and we're playing and doing work.
Yeah,
It's
so
much-
much better.
it's-
so much better.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think the podcast is really good because we talked about higher level life kind of stuff, which is really fun. But I think this is really cool because we're able to see and share.
This is what I have more fun with.
Yeah.
But I think to optimize this, to make it more so that the viewers get more out of it, you know, if you're interacting with them for like, just say a short, like 15, 20-minute period of time. Like I didn't have any goals today with this stream anyway. So there wasn't like, you know, I was going to show this exact thing. I just kind of wanted to show where V-Ray RT was at.
Yeah, no, it's
But-
awesome. No.
So just before, we've got a couple of minutes here, so I'll upload this file and I'll just run through the color correction tools.
Yeah.
So
I
in
love
you're
that.
you're
That's really
used
cool.
to Octane. The first thing you'll notice in Octane, obviously, is that they've got their basic color
Yeah, the LUTs.
corrections loaded in. I think it's this one. Let me disable that. The LUTs by default loading in. And then the thing that I noticed inside of Octane that V-Ray doesn't really do is that the shadowy areas in V-Ray are a bit brighter. In Octane are a bit brighter. So I'll put a curve in and just slide it over here. And if you want to do this correctly, right? So inside the V-Ray frame buffer, I turn this on. I right-click down on this bottom point. The reason I do that is because I don't want to move it off of the default position, because then obviously you start clipping things and it's very bad.
Yeah.
So the way to get around that is, say I want to move the top right point. If I click it, I can accidentally move it like that. So right-click it, hit Bezier, and then you can introduce a slight curve. And that slight curve is a very subtle difference here,
Yeah.
but that can be the type of thing that convinces people that certain render engines are better. As crazy as that seems.
No, it's very true.
Because the reason I'm saying that is because when you compare Octane to V-Ray without any color calibration whatsoever on a basic simple scene, say like a sphere on the ground, like reflecting, it produces a very similar result.
Yeah.
But Octane has its own color space, and it kind of does things its own way.
I set it all to linear. Honestly, I removed the LUT
Yeah.
as much as possible. I set it to linear and I adjust it and augment it. That's one thing I always do every time I make a new file. It's all the color space is always set to linear, so I have the most unaltered version. You know,
Right.
So,
But the
and
thing is,
adjust
right,
the lookup table and everything to what I want it to be.
the more I do photography, the more I realize that having everything set to linear, disabling all of this stuff
Yeah.
inside of the render engine, that's not going to be the same look and feel as the camera, because each camera has its own
That's true.
color space.
Yeah, and the
Each
processor and
camera
how it
gives you a
works.
certain look and feel. Like inside my Sony A7R2, I get better results by default bumping up the saturation of the image.
Sure.
Like more detail comes out, and so I'm starting to implement that same type of workflow because I want my results to look more like the photos I'm taking.
Sure.
So naturally, as time goes on, as I get more experience with that, these subtle little like tweaks are like, obviously don't want to load this one. What's one I've been using?
You look at like the color space of like Fincher films, for example, like the heavy green
Yeah,
overlay
exactly.
and stuff like that. I mean,
Exactly.
that's when you're getting into style, you know. So
Exactly. I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more of that style.
it's good. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. If somebody asked earlier about like studying films, when we were making Lost Boy, for example, as you mentioned earlier, Anthony and I went through pivotal scenes in films that we really love. One of them was Terminator. You know, Terminator, the lighting of the
Here's one
original
I
Terminator.
said earlier.
Yeah, I mean, like literally. See, there you go. You're watching it, and so like
I'm watching it right now.
when you have the was it T500 or T100, the one that you're building right now, the render that you just did? That's
The
a
101. This is the scene here that let me get up the frame. Oh yeah, I love this scene. This one.
Grant, somebody said Dimitri is here. They wanted me to tell
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah. Of course he is. Of course he is.
Awesome. Yeah, but we used
Sure.
the lighting style and there it is. Yeah, I mean, if you look at, he has a harsh right and then a nice soft blue.
Yeah.
But he's opened up the lens and he's got overexposure. His whites are pure, and then the image is quite contrasting.
He's got all the rim lighting there to bring the guy off backplate. It's all.
But it's not flat. It's very dynamic.
It's very dynamic.
You have one light over here and one light over on the left. That's what helps push the core shadow, and that's what helps push, like right there, it helps push the red of his face too. And understanding those lighting aspects is really good. Mache is working on a really cool class. I probably can't talk about details of it, but it's in regards to understanding how to see things like that and how he analyzes images and stuff too. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Let me load up a. It was actually it was cool when I was doing the Terminator tests. I was trying to. I don't think you showed it. Where is it here?
But we use that a lot to infer lighting styles and tell our DOP the flavor and style that we wanted.
I could tell that there was a little bit of influence there.
We try to put a lot of influences in many things, you know. So yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I was trying to recreate, and one of the little Easter eggs that I tried to put in, and I wasn't happy with this. I thought the shader and the model started to break down a little bit. It didn't have the same.
Sure. Well, I mean, the thing you'll probably get into next is degradation of film. So, like, you would bring it. Like, that's something I'm not sure if you get into much, but that's one thing I'm really getting into is.
I want to.
Maybe I can share some stuff with you, but like using After Effects. I just got this thing called Film Convert. It's a plugin, and what it does is it emulates the noise of films, and it has it all set, so you can probably get pretty close to matching what. It's hard because you don't have the final plate, the 70 mil or 35 mil, whatever. So it's hard to tell.
Where's the reference I saw here? I've got a file here which showed potentially what it looks like ungraded, just like on set, and it was not blue at all. Everything was orange.
Yeah.
Let me. How much time do we have? A couple of minutes?
Yeah, we could do 10 more minutes. That's okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we could honestly, guys, we could keep going for so long. Eventually, I mean, this is what's cool. Like, again, I was going to say, like,
here we go.
It's just fun. We're just learning, having fun. Like, I'm sharing some stuff with you. Like, yeah, so it's hard to tell, though. Like, that's a still photo of for Stan Winston's. But
yeah, but you can
like,
see the lighting. It's less like the ground even. The ground doesn't have that blue hue over everything.
But that's somebody's camera, you know, on set.
Yeah.
So that's not going through Jim and then Jim's color space and everything. And Jim, I believe they were using traditional film, of course, back then. So that this is.
They were.
Yeah, so you're. Yeah. So what I'm going to say is, like, when you look at things through, like, how you're digitally rendering it so perfect, if you subtly shift the overall tonal blur and then the noise, and then what I'm really getting into right now is DaVinci. Have you played with DaVinci, like the color grading software?
Yep, DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, Resolve. Yeah. Oh, man, the UI in that program is amazing, spot on. It's so nice and so well done. But I'm starting to figure out ways of augmenting colors and things through that.
It's something that this is probably the one thing that's starting to excite me now, because as soon as the real time element kicks in, you want to have that understanding, not like inside of V-Ray, if I'm using the production render, I can just save off 20 different passes and get the end result in Photoshop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
But I want to
you
I
can
want to
get pretty
know that,
close. You can get
you
pretty
know,
close.
yeah, I know I can get that result just through layering up noise, bit by bit, implementing it, changing the colors, going through the grading, and it's just a slow process.
Yeah, yeah. I'll show you
I
as I
want
go through
this
it.
result. I
Yeah,
want, like, in the future, I want the render engine to be able to emulate
yeah.
looks like
The
this
aberrations of the
accurately.
lens
Yeah,
and the glows
exactly. So
and the
that's
actual
why
artifacts.
I said in V-Ray RT, when I'm asking them to implement glare and bloom in real time, but at the moment, like the Octane glare and bloom is pretty basic. They have not changed that in 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, yeah,
All you can do is basically turn it on, tint it a little bit, and increase the strength of it. I
yeah,
want to have control over things like the chromatic aberration. So
yeah.
in the bright areas, it becomes, that, which is the way it actually works.
Yes,
If I'm
yes.
in Photoshop and I want to apply chromatic aberration to an image, a lot of the mistakes guys make is they apply it everywhere,
Hmm.
when really it's just where the lens is pinging off more. That's where you'll get that effect happening.
Yeah.
So on really high exposure images, that effect comes out more. On the really low, that's why photographers are always trying to get everything exposed correctly, because they don't want to. They don't want those things in their renders. But us as artists,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
like
it's kind of funny. We're wanting to mimic them in their errors that they don't want to have, and they're trying to
exactly.
make the image that we have. Yeah.
And then just very subtly tone it back. Like
Yes.
I don't want to have it obvious.
Yes.
But if it's there and it's just another one of those small things that just adds a small contribution to the realism, then I'm happy to introduce it.
Yeah.
Like
No.
it
Same.
was actually, I remember having that same with Matt Blamires. He was a photographer at Light Farm when I was working over there, and he's like, "Dude, why are you adding noise to the image?" It's like, do you understand how much I have to pay for
To
my
remove.
camera
Yeah.
to get rid of that shit? Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And I was like, but man, like if it's perfect, the brain just doesn't accept it, because we get so conditioned to seeing what photos are, and
Yeah.
photos have all of those issues in them. So but moving forward, I'd love to have all of that stuff in the engine, like inside of
Yeah.
V-Ray.
Photoshop.
I would love to
Photoshop
have
inside it.
a tick box instead of like loading a LUT
Yeah. Hmm.
like this. I'd like to have an option to have a certain film look, and it actually does introduce noise,
Yeah.
and it does actually introduce the chromatic aberration and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it would be good just to have a slider
Yeah.
for the
That'd
intensity
be awesome.
of that effect. Like
Yeah.
you turn it on inside here, like the LUT, there'll be like chromatic aberration slider, glare slider, noise, all sorts of things, and you can just slide them up or down interactively. That to me would be the ultimate.
Well, pretty soon, I mean, if you see like the technologies behind like things like Unreal Engine and stuff like that, I mean, it's getting really quite close to being able to do it. That's one thing I was going to ask you too, is like seeing all these new technologies and seeing these new things that are coming out. Is it something that, because when I see like how good Unreal Engine, I mean, Unreal Engine still has tons of uncanny valley, of course, but seeing these things, is that where you think the future is going? Where it's like, we're going to be
I
able to
think the
make
future's
immersive, real-time, like fully immersive, real-time experiences instead of doing like one image. We're actually going to have like rooms and places. Like I'm like, hey Grant, check this out, and I just basically make a building, and I'm like, go walk through my building and try to find your way out. Like like how cool would that should be? Like I
I
don't know.
think they're definitely going in the right direction.
Yeah.
The gaming trying to emulate ray tracing. It's obviously not full-blown ray tracing at the moment, but trying to implement some of the same features we have in the shaders. Like I saw, how long ago was it? Like a year ago, I saw a video for Unreal Engine of the guy using the material editor, and I was
Yeah.
like, that's actually, like, it doesn't look photoreal, but just the control you have over it, I was thinking you'd be able to produce some really interesting results. But, as usual, like I kind of thought like it's still a few years away, but it's definitely something. I think for me, the future is just getting my hands on as many graphics cards as possible, so that I don't need to
Yeah.
worry about
Well, the
Unreal
cloud.
Engine.
Yeah, the cloud.
Yeah, I
the
don't need
cloud
the
will be
Unreal
there.
Engine. I can just have it real time here.
Yeah.
But it's actually getting pretty close now. Like
It is. It's
I'm
pretty
not
amazing.
I'm not using the CPU. I'm using the CPU here. I'm not even using the GPU.
Yeah.
It's just one CPU.
Can you use them both
you know,
together, or they have to be they're different architectures entirely?
yeah, they're different architectures
Yeah.
entirely.
Okay.
But it's
cool.
getting there. And the more I start to work with this stuff, the more, like I said, it's just all about photography.
It is. Well, it's using your eye, basically understanding your eye.
Yeah.
Somebody brings up a really good point. Is Tim's Vermeer? Have you watched that documentary about Tim, who's this I don't know, he's like an entrepreneurial mogul. He's not an artist or a trained artist, but what he wants to do is he's addicted to Vermeer's paintings, and he wants to figure out a way of recreating them. It's a really great documentary if you haven't seen it yet.
No,
It's really
I haven't
good.
seen it.
You'd really appreciate it, especially now. You should also check out Gregory Crewdson documentaries too. I think you'd really like his.
Can you put the link in the Twitch?
Yeah, let me put the Twitch link. So Tim's Vermeer is the first one. And do you have I'm not sure about how it works over there, but there's I don't know if you have the Netflix and all that kind of stuff, whether they have it there. I think that's where I watched it, but I could be wrong. I might have bought it or something. And then there's Tim's Vermeer, and then what was the other one I was talking about? Oh, the Greg Crewdson film. Greg film. Gregory Crewdson was my chief inspiration behind doing that Ghost in the Shell tribute project. So,
Yep.
There you go. They're both in there now. So the Gregory Crewdson movie is really great. You'd love it because you're getting into photography, and you're gonna really love this one because he goes really far into making incredible imagery. I think this might
Holy
change.
shit! The background image looks pretty crazy.
Yeah, this might change your life. This
Holy
film, it changed my life as an artist.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, both of those films
Cool.
I think you'll really enjoy. So yeah, I love that. It's one of my favorite things is sharing cool things and just hey, look at this, look at that. There's so many things to be learned and shared. So it's never ending.
Let me give you the link, guys.
Who did this model? Oh, for the downloadable stuff. So
yeah, hold on, I'll give it to you. Here you go, guys. Here you go.
There you go, guys. Awesome. Thank you so much. Christmas time. I'll put these into my stuff for show. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for doing that. Thanks for sharing it with everybody. It's nice of you.
It's all good. Let me see. Nothing's loaded. Just the HDR. Okay. Just.
Somebody's asking for a photograph of my bookshelf. I have tons of books. My wife and I just actually categorized and put everything on Amazon. So if there's a particular book that you're interested in, let me know because I have it all in my lists and inside of my account. So where's my list? There it is. Yeah, so if you go, here it is. I'm sharing my screen really quickly. You can continue on, obviously. It doesn't matter. Let's see. There it is.
Yeah, no worries.
There it is.
I'm just...
As you're doing that. So, yeah, so if you go to... here, I'll send you a link here. But if you go to my Amazon list that I'd send you to, I have lists on my art list, comics, design and typography, film and writing, inspirational self-help books. I love those books, as you guys know. My manga stuff, novels, and then I have my PC build list. Let me send that link over to you guys. Yeah, so I mean, I try to make it so it was an open resource for everybody to be able to utilize and get a hold of and stuff. So, let's see, where'd that Skype window go? Let's see. I lost the Skype window. Let's see, there it is now. I made it full screen and it disappeared when I took it off. It's probably hiding on the side of something. Damn you. Let's see. Let me call you right back because I can't find it.
No worries.
Give me 1 second because it's coming up, but it's not showing your window. So I want to be able to see what we're looking at. I'll call you right back and then we'll end the stream.
No worries, man.
One second. All right, let's see here. Just grabbing the link for that. There you go. And then, let's see, where are you at? Let me restart Skype then. Sorry guys, technical difficulties. We planned this and it was like I was right in the middle of a podcast finishing that up, and I had a bunch of other things, so it's like I haven't even eaten today. It's not a good thing. So okay, let me call Grant back. There we go. All right, there we are. Can you hear me, Grant?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Yep.
So you're back on there, and then I got you full screen. So if you want to share your screen, and if there's any, maybe we could just like touch on any last things. Guys, this has really been awesome. You guys have been great. Amazing questions coming through. Please, you know, I don't know, I'm not sure if you're aware of what Grant does, but he also has his own school called Mastering CGI. I'll post links to that as well. If you don't know, we did a podcast together. It was really awesome. So we had a lot of fun with that. Great resources if you're really interested in understanding CGI and taking yourself to the next level. Definitely check out his online course, and just follow him on Facebook and stuff, because he's like, this is your life, right? I mean, this is what you do.
Yeah.
It's like what you love.
I'd say at this point, basically, I think my job is to be like a bridge between the render engine and production. So I'm kind of like R&D, but I'm teaching people the R&D I'm doing. So I'm because I'm not working in production anymore, I can just do basically whatever I want. I can test whatever I want. I can focus on new features that I think could change the industry. And because of that, I'm always doing some cool stuff. I'm always trying to show you stuff that is what's coming next.
Yeah, no, and you're really pushing everything, and you're constantly active, which is really great. You're like, hey, look at this thing I'm making. Look at this thing I'm making. Look at that, you know? So, and for me, it's just a constant reminder to see that you're in the grind, you're working, you're trying to achieve those results. And then it's really cool. Like, you're really convincing me of the power of V-Ray, and I'm seeing it like real time is really super appealing to me, because the one thing that I had a hard time with when I was trying to study your courses, I'm still very new to this, but it's like I'm using Octane, which is it's similar language, but they're using different words, and so I'm like,
man,
wait, yeah, what about that? And so it's hard for you, I know, as a teacher, because you're trying to teach generally, but these programs and everything are so separate. The main core things that I took away from learning from you is that using your eye and having your eye be the deciding factor of understanding what knobs to turn in order to achieve those things. So yeah,
it's weird though. I didn't start like that, and because I didn't start with photography, I had this like weird warped sense of what looked good. Like, it was very, very weird. I had a very weird learning curve in the industry, where I was kind of like semi self-taught, but learning a little bit from photographers without actually knowing what they were doing, just trying to emulate what photographers were doing. And the end result from that was I was lighting things in just crazy ways, like really bad ways, but somehow it would get to the end result. So over time, I've just learned that, you know, it is more just about just simplifying it down to basic photography. But man, V-Ray RT, it's really responsive now.
Yeah,
like,
it's
I'm
awesome.
Streaming to you. I'm sharing my screen. I'm rendering. This is 100%.
And you're not
it's all
using
updated.
some crazy ass like stuff too. You're still on
No, I'm just using two old.
Titans.
You could buy a single Titan X Pascal, like $1,500, and you could have the same speed.
Yeah.
Now this is a complicated shader. I tried to make this shader in F-Storm, and it really started to slow down. Like, the rendering started to slow down. There's one thing that I wanted to implement into V-Ray. See how I've got all this shit up on the interface?
Yeah.
I've got like all the color corrections and everything.
That's cool.
I can get rid of those, but one of the things I want is the ability to go full screen, like Photoshop. You just hit the F button and it swaps the view mode. Now with rendering, you've got some basic control in the viewport. Like, I can go to viewport navigation here and rotate directly inside the V-Ray frame buffer, which I think is pretty cool.
That's really cool.
So if I could go screen here and not have any of the distraction from the interface, it would just be a purely visual experience, and I would use that for locking off the camera or something like that. You know, like, I'm zooming inside of the V-Ray frame buffer.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
in the future, I'd have the frame buffer up full screen. I'd have up the interface on the left-hand screen, and I'd be adjusting the material and everything.
Yeah.
But the workflow would be just me working directly in like a full screen mode. You're seeing the interface, and for clients and stuff like that, like imagine if I had 8 times the power.
Yeah, it's great.
It would be just instant, It'd just be rotate, bang,
Yeah.
rotate, bang, rotate, bang. It's
Yeah, I have a feeling you're going to build something pretty crazy. I imagine.
So there's some cool stuff coming. There's
It's
some cool
awesome.
stuff.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for being a pioneer, man.
I'm more than happy to show this stuff, in future streams, because this is the type of stuff you're seeing in the shader. All this stuff is procedural now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You've got the ability to. Let me see if I can just get the. I don't know if focus distance is working yet inside this. Yeah, focus distance is only working in the CPU version, I think, or I'm just not using it correctly. All these features are quite new, but yeah, there's some good stuff coming. And the next thing that's going to be really cool is forest color support for scattering. So I can do a live stream with you guys just on scattering.
There's an endless. Maybe also one thing we could do too is once I finish my next film, which will be due pretty soon, we can do this thing where we can pass things back and forth, and like we can maybe as I'm going through, I haven't gone through the whole DaVinci and the noise thing and stuff, but I could go through it with you and kind of show you some stuff too. We can go back and forth.
The thing is, you're going to have the edge on me with look development, and I'll have the edge on you on the technical stuff.
Yeah, dude, I mean?
So
I love it.
If you focus on the basic scene structure, I can focus on the intricate details of it.
That'd be awesome. Well, I mean, Maciej and I, we're doing this thing called this like mother project that Maciej kind of brought up. I think he mentioned it to you. So that was one thing we were thinking that would be really awesome to tie it in with you, and also show everybody, all the students, everybody, like how powerful your abilities are in conveying how to use these tools and stuff. So yeah, we should definitely, because I mean, Maciej and I are like image makers too, but
exactly, you
guys.
So
it's just like utilizing our strengths and weaknesses together to make something better together. So I'm 100% on board with that, because that'd be a lot of fun. Also, just the learning aspect. I mean, that's basically what Learn Squared is. It's like people teaching one another, and then that's observing it. So.
Wrote me into that really nicely, haven't you?
Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of fun, because you don't just learn in a vacuum. You learn by working with others and conveying ideas and stuff. Yeah, old school concept art, you like wash or like color pencil.
And you can just see how it's just translated.
Have you seen some of Jim Cameron's drawings?
No, I haven't.
You should check it out. He's actually a really good artist. He did it.
I know he is, but like in terms of like I haven't like looked at them apart from like on a DVD special or something like that.
Yeah, you should
Didn't
check it
he
out.
Draw the Titanic drawing?
Yeah, he did. I think he did that, but he also like if you've seen The Abyss, which is a really great one of my favorites of his. He concepted like the creatures in the abyss and stuff. So yeah, let's see. There's
Tried to Google here, but...
let's see if I can grab it. Jim Cameron Abyss Arts or something. Jim Cam Abyss Abyss Art. All right. Yeah, it's kind of like the reason why I thought of it is because when you were drawing that stuff, I was thinking about these colored pencil drawings that he had done on black paper. I believe these are his. I mean, I could be wrong. But yeah, they were quite interesting because he was drawing it on black, which is kind of like how they approached like the original Batman. This is a Mobius drawing actually. I don't know where it is. It's not online, but yeah, and there you go. It's funny stuff. But yeah,
there it is.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, some cool drawings that he's using. Yeah. But all right, I have to go. This has been amazing, though. We could keep going
worries,
forever.
man.
Yeah, it's
Thank
been
you very much.
Thank you for being awesome and for sharing your knowledge and time with us.
Yeah, well, I'll get some more educational stuff up. I think it was a good start.
This is great. This is great. Again, I want to try to keep it casual, just talking shop about what's working and have everybody ask questions and stuff. So, hopefully everybody enjoyed it.
The best thing I can take from this is that I've finally figured out how to do a dual live stream.
Good.
Having two guys share their screens at the same time. So that's good.
Yeah,
good.
No, it's just using Skype's pretty easy. So and Skype usually works pretty decently. It's amazing because you're around the world, and we're in different time zones and stuff. Be able to convey this stuff and share it with everybody. So pretty amazing time we live in. So awesome.
Cheers, man. I'll I'll catch you on the next one. It was fun.
Yes, and
But
I'll keep up with you on all the
we'll have
Facebook
to
and
we'll have
everything.
to
So
set something up that's more specific to your film.
yes, we'll do
I'll
that.
I'll
And
have a chat to Mache today about what I could do tomorrow because I'll be
that's
on his stream
perfect.
as well.
That'd be perfect. I
So
mean, I think he was talking about he had some specifics and stuff. So we'll definitely
yep,
be able to lock
yep,
in on some specifics. And I think, yeah, once I release the next film that I'm working on building, then we can definitely get into that and start talking about the nuances and stuff. So if you want to, so and I think that'd be really fun because I'd like to show you what I've achieved in Octane, and I would like to see what you would achieve in V-Ray. And then we could
yeah.
really start to cross compare and go like, wow, okay, there's some really big differences here. And then what I would like to
It's
take those differences and go like, does it matter? Because I'd take it into like After Effects and then grade it and noise it,
right,
and then
right.
go in like, and then I'd go, okay, does it or not? So
For the
um,
stuff you're doing, it's probably not going to be the difference.
yeah,
But if you were talking about the print industry,
sure,
where you're rendering something 5K, V-Ray definitely has the edge, and you will notice it. Like Dimitri, he's in the chat. I'm doing stuff with him on mastering CGI at the moment.
yeah,
He's an Octane guy. Like he's a massive Octane fanboy
yeah,
because of the responsiveness.
yeah,
But if you ask him now how V-Ray's behaving, he'll tell you that he's coming round.
yeah, of
Because
course.
as soon as the responsiveness is there, it's a fun render engine to use. It's
Yeah,
not about the technical stuff. It's great if you've got the power to do the crazy stuff, but if the render's slow, you don't give a shit.
no,
So
absolutely.
now it is. So now there's no reason almost not to, just because you've got the power there. But you'll find that as you use Octane more, transitioning to something like V-Ray is not going to be as hard.
Yeah,
Once you get that understanding of how to like actively get something to look a certain way.
I'm looking forward to that. Dimitri shared this shader that I don't know if you can see it you'll be able to see it in the live chat here in a minute. Actually, you posted a link, but it's like this blue ball with like the sparkle fleck paint. Damn, dude,
Yeah.
that's insanity. Just like I'm looking more or less at like
This is the scan.
yeah, that's insane. That's amazing.
This is the
This
V-Ray
stuff
scan
looks really
materials.
good. This metal right here, like the metal on, like you can see the oil and the smudges. Like now this is getting
No,
really
but
gnarly.
these aren't scans. These are just normal materials.
That's insane.
And this is using the exact same method of what I showed you on the car
That's
in
so
this
cool.
stream. So this
Yeah.
method that is all procedural using the triplanar mapping and the dirt, you can generate all this stuff similar to, like, I really wish I contacted Vitaly the other day. I actually finally did it.
Oh, great, good.
I contacted him
He's
because I
using
wanted
Octane
to
right now. Actually,
I
got him
wanted
on
to
the
try
Octane
and
train.
see what one of his models would look like with this method.
Oh,
And I was
dude,
going to try and convert
please.
him over to it.
Please.
I was going to try and convert him
Did you
because
did you talk? Did you get a chance to talk with him?
nah, he hasn't responded yet. I'm
Oh,
kind of just,
I'll bug
you
him.
know.
I'll bug him for you. If you don't
I'm
get,
just sitting
he
here.
will. He will. He's great at
Oh
getting
yeah,
that,
I know. I hope. 'Cause
if not, just ping
I've
me.
been
I'll
up all
make
night
sure.
crying about that.
I'll get you
You
guys
know,
connected. I'll get you guys connected if for some reason he doesn't. So, yeah, he actually just got Octane and he was like sending me all these pictures. I'm like, no, oh, here he comes. Here
Don't
comes
you
the
dare.
beast.
What's he been using? Keyshot or something?
Yeah, he's been using Keyshot, but I
Yeah.
think if you get him,
Blasphemy.
let's have
On
him
his
on.
models,
Let's have him on the stream.
absolute blasphemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute blasphemy.
No,
I
it is. Yeah. No, you're
gonna
gonna.
have a word
Yeah,
to
we
him
gotta.
about that.
We gotta get him on the stream, and then we gotta take one of his models and go nuts in V-Ray and stuff. And
Yeah, maybe we do a little joint 3-person stream
Yeah.
where like you're lighting something, you're lighting his stuff, I'm doing the shading,
that
and
sounds
he's
great.
he's just sitting there soothly, making us feel good about life or
yeah.
feeling really badly. I don't know.
That'd be amazing. I'd love that.
I just hope he responds to
He
my
will.
message.
If he doesn't, just let me know. I'll let him know. So, yeah.
Nah, if he
Yeah.
doesn't, he can go to hell.
No, he will. It's probably just busy or something. He's in like,
I'm
some
joking.
different
I'm
country.
joking.
No, for sure. Okay, let's do it then.
Let's do it, man.
Awesome. Thank you guys. You guys have been great today. Thank you, Grant. If you're interested in learning from Grant, he has his online school, Mastering CGI. Make sure you post a link there.
Yeah.
And yeah, and make sure, I mean, everybody, like Black Friday was nuts. It was really awesome. Thank you guys for all the support. It was really amazing. We had a really great time with that, and that was awesome. A lot of people joined the school. So thank you guys for that. And we have new courses coming up, as always. They're always in the works, so just you guys will know. Sign up for the newsletter if you're curious and all that kind of stuff. and then we'll we'll get Grant again. We'll do some fun stuff together on another stream soon. Mache and Grant will be here tomorrow at 1:00, so don't miss it. All right, guys. Peace out, everybody.
See you, mate.
Much
Thanks
love,
heaps.
everybody. Cheers, everyone. Have a great day.